Welcome back, everyone, to Failing Forward. I am your host, Jared Wunderlich. With me today is Mr. David Dipetro. Dave, how you doing today, man?
What's up, man? Excited to be here.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on. I feel very special.
I'm thrilled to have you here, man. Actually, I've never asked you this before. Do you prefer Dave or David?
Whatever. I think growing up it was David a lot more, and now it's Dave.
Now it's
so
Dave?
it's whatever. Dave.
All right.
Whatever's fine.
I didn't want to stick with one, and by the end of it,
whatever
you're like,
comes
dude,
out fun.
Shut up. No. No. So this is actually a different podcast, different episode, mainly because you and I don't know each other all that well. We've gotten to experience each other in one or two occasions before, but we haven't had a lot of personal interaction, and that does make things very different because all of my guests I've had up to this point are either longtime friends or business partners of mine. I know areas of their life that most people don't. Which allows me to be very, very comfortable sitting across from them because if they don't bring something up that I want to talk about, I know I can get us there. But I don't have that with you. And I'll be completely honest. Okay. I was a little bit hesitant to have you on because of that. And I don't want you to take that the wrong way. I am excited you're here.
Love a chance to come on. I always love talking about myself.
Yeah, there you go. But it's funny. Like I almost talked myself out of it because of like uncertainty. Like I was like, well, shoot, like I'm someone who likes to sit and visualize these things into existence of leading into it. And I didn't have that.
So you can't plan everything. You just execute.
And it made me a little hesitant. Eventually I had to do what I usually do when I'm forced with a tough decision. And that's asking myself two questions. It's one, does the decision scare me? Which, as I've already mentioned, this one did because there was some uncertainty. So there was some fear. And the second part is, does it have purpose? And I really didn't have to think about that one that long because me being in a new experience, meeting someone new serves a purpose for me. It allows me to grow from someone. Exactly.
That's what growing up is.
It's putting yourself in tough situations. So I was able to answer those two questions with a yes. And I knew right away, like I had to have you on. We had to do this together.
Awesome.
So this has already been super, super beneficial for me.
All right.
We can stop right now. That was good. Thanks for coming in.
See you later.
But guys, I'm really excited to have Dave here with me. So you have a very prominent background in real estate. So just out of my curiosity, because I'm looking a little bit right now. What's the market look like? I'm just curious.
The market is fantastic now. Anywhere except downtown Denver. So in kind of the condo market, we're seeing people being like, okay, none of my favorite restaurants are open. I can't go watch sports. The theater's not open, whatever.
The benefits.
It's like, why would I live in a building with 500 other roommates, technically? Sure. So you're starting to see a little bit of it's the only buyer's market in the state is the downtown Denver market, but everything else is insanely crazy. It's the same as it's been the past 5 years. You're seeing, anything under the jumbo loan, which is like 580,000, it just goes 16 offers basically in a weekend.
Yeah.
If it's nice and reasonably priced. But Denver's a smart market but if something's overpriced, it'll tell you. So buyers are still sensitive and smart enough for that, and thankful that, a lot of buyers work with good agents. So the market is very, very strong. But for first time in the past few years, there's a lot of inventory too. So things aren't getting bid up too much, but there is like, if you want something to happen, you can make it happen. You just might have to be flexible on areas. But there's now a buildup of inventory in outsiding areas. Like we were talking before this, like Castle Rock has boomed exponentially, and anywhere that used to see areas, blank grass is now a house. And, people aren't as sensitive to wanting to be close to downtown. They don't have an office anymore. So you're starting to see basically everywhere boom, but you're going to quote this now, and then we'll look, we'll look next year, and it'll be another $50,000 equity added on, and things will be $50,000, $70,000 more expensive. So, things are very active, and we're seeing a huge push towards the end of the year with people wanting to, no matter what happens in the election, Colorado will still be a very in-demand place, and we're seeing people kind of make a rush to park money or to make something happen before the year ends. So it's no longer just, this year seems like it's all the same month. So it's not really summer, it's not really fall, it's not really winter. It's just, it's go time. We have not been affected at all with COVID. It's been even busier, actually, because people are like, shoot, I hate my house. Or they're like, I need to make a change, because you're forced to live in your house and look at your life. And I think people have had some successful years in a lot of different sectors. And We hear all about negative, but a lot of people have had pretty positive years in financially, and a lot of people have been able to make a move, and the market's amazing. Very blessed in that
Absolutely.
regard for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure other people will as well. I mean, my wife and I we're in that first time home buyers market right now. I've
Yeah,
got to imagine there's other people who are. So,
tons.
I'm sure they appreciate having kind of just an insider's opinion there.
Yeah,
Is there anything
happy to field any questions ever. This could
absolutely.
be very beneficial.
Yeah. On that note, is there anything additional you would pass along in terms of advice for a first time home buyer in today's market?
Yeah, I would say first thing to a lot of people look first and get pre-qualified later or get pre-qualified later. I would recommend getting yourself in touch with a great realtor and getting yourself in touch with a great lender. Usually the realtor has the referral on that. It is so important to know what's comfortable for you in payment wise scenario, just so you don't look at something that's, out of your budget that you love and then everything else looks bad, or vice versa. I mean, it's a lot of times you can afford a lot more than you think. A lot of people think 20% down is the normal connotation, but that's not the case. Especially with first time home buyers, you can put up to, I mean, as low as like 5% down.
Sure.
So it's really just knowing the financial part first. I think, and I'm saying that as a realtor, I'm the one that shows the home, but knowing your lending side first is the best thing you can do. And you have to be pre-qualified to even really look at homes in this market because things go so quick. And
Right.
that's the smartest thing you can do is get a good team together of a realtor, a lender, and have them be able to work together with you. And they're, both professionals in the business and not just doing it half-assed or doing it on the side. You need to have people that are serious professionals because this is a very serious and competitive market. It's the worst thing ever when people are getting outbid and get frustrated and
Sure.
everything. That makes no one happy.
No, it's incredibly fast paced. My wife and I have experienced that as well. I mean, it seems like one, there are a lot of first time home buyers on the market right
Yeah.
now,
Oh, yeah. And
and
they're all excited.
they are, and they're all looking in a very similar price range for the most part. They're looking for those 3, 4 bedroom homes. A lot of which are in those suburban areas like Castle Rock, Parker, Centennial,
Yeah.
things like that. But on top of that, I feel like there's also a decent wave of investor groups and investing individuals who are looking to capture that same market
Yeah.
for the purpose of building out their investment property portfolio. And because of it, things are very fast paced right now. If you do find something you like, you've got to move quick. It seems. Is there anything you'd recommend? You mentioned look first and then get pre qualified. Uh,
No, a lot of people do that
oh, a lot
first.
of people
I
do that.
highly
You recommend the
recommend getting
opposite? Okay,
pre-qualified first
absolutely,
and then start to look, basically set your expectations of what you can afford.
sure.
Because always, if you set your Zillow search at 600,000, you can afford 400,000. You'd be like, shit, all the four
But
hundred
I, but
thousand
I
dollar
like to look at the six
places are
hundred
crappy,
thousand dollar
but you
places.
can still afford the same place if you're flexible on location a little bit.
Sure.
And I mean, everywhere in Colorado, as we know, is nice to an extent. It's just being flexible, like kind of driving a little bit. But there is a ton of competition, and it's great for us as listing brokers. But then flip side, we also do the buyer,
Mhm.
and it gets really frustrating. So being really creative, having all your ducks in a row on the lending side is most important. And then getting with a good agent that can flex your deadlines to be, really conducive and attractive to compete with these investors that are cash offers and everything to really make it happen. It's just, I mean, it's the same thing as life. It's just being prepared
Sure.
and letting other people work with you and work for you and having the right team. Just because everyone and their mother's in real estate in some capacity, it seems like, but a lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's really important to have someone that knows what they're doing to make it happen because you don't want to just look at things and then you can't afford it or you get beat out on offers and you get
Sure.
discouraged and everything and everyone's wasting their time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you going into a little bit more
Yeah,
detail.
yeah, of
Even if they
course.
didn't get anything out of it, I did. 'Cause
Okay,
you spoke straight to me.
that's fine.
No, I know. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in similar situations, and sometimes it's just nice to hear the words straight from a professional,
Yeah, yeah,
especially someone
it's
who's
crazy.
who's not working with that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You get a very unbiased
just
approach.
unbiased because
Yeah.
you ask a realtor like, oh no, yeah, it's great. Like,
Yeah.
let's just get out there and look and stuff, and then you get the harsh reality. You don't want to be unpleasantly surprised. You want to be pleasantly surprised and think
Yep.
that's gonna be all this work, and then your realtor and your team make it super easy for you. And that's always my goal. I set expectations and then be a pleasant surprise instead of be shocked and
Sure.
be overwhelmed with everything because
Yeah.
it's such a huge process.
I didn't have this question written down to ask, but just hearing you talk
Yeah,
about all of this, your demeanor changes when you talk about it. Like you just seem very comfortable, and obviously you know it
sure,
very
sure,
well.
yeah.
But is there what led you to this career path?
Yeah. For sure the money.
Sure.
I'll be blunt with that. I'm
Totally.
honest. It is we are exponentially rewarded in that capacity, but it is not easy money. There are we're paid just commission. So
Mhm.
you don't sell, you don't eat. So it's really that risk there. But the upsides of a sale, because someone buying a home and everything that leads to that, it's almost the same as like someone buying a gym membership or someone buying a pair of shoes. It's still fitting that same need. And the real estate side, your commission is extremely higher than if you're a sales rep for a clothing company or a gym membership or anything like that. And
Mhm.
it's still the same mentality. A lot of the guys on my team are from they ran 24-hour fitnesses and are like, wow, this is so much. It's the same kind of set of sales skills, but the money, of course, going into that. But in kind of high school and college, I watched the show $1 Million Listing, and they just they had one in New York and LA and kind of all the big markets, and they just showed all this cool stuff. And I was like, I basically went to my brother was in real estate when I was in college, and I was like, I want to sell cool shit downtown. Literally, I want to sell cool shit downtown. I always saw all the buildings when I go to Rockies games or be downtown. I always loved
Yeah.
the city, and he put me in touch with an agent and basically hopped on with him right away and got started kind of selling. And it's not as glamorous as anything sees and anything that I portray on social media. So that's why I was excited to get on this podcast and share how I can kind of apply myself in different ways to not share that glamorous side, but really
Yeah.
give you the real side. But it's a grind for sure. Not very rarely is it multi-million-dollar listings and easy clients and everything. It's a lot of shit and a lot of weeding through the shit, but
Right.
I feel like I have a pretty good map for it.
Absolutely.
So
It feels like you do, man.
has been pretty beneficial for sure.
That's awesome. I love to hear that you actually were still like in school when this idea came to you. Because I feel
Yeah,
like that's not the
I can
case
give
so
you.
much
You
anymore.
want the rundown
Yeah, I'd love to.
yeah. So
Go
I
for it.
mean, this is kind of my first experience, and why I thought coming on the podcast would be beneficial, mutually beneficial was I got into real estate because of failure, because of looking that in the face and kind of getting that scenario. So I played competitive football my whole life, and
Mhm.
then went to Colorado State for college and played football, and went through my first 3 years. And I was always big, but never had that extra step. So kind of knew that I wasn't going to get the NFL dream, was kind of not there. And I was raised very well with my dad runs banks here in Colorado, and just kind of raised me to know the value of money. And I knew better than to chase an athlete dream, an athlete kind of pipe dream. But I chased it all the way through college. Going into my senior year, CSU brought on 3 junior college transfers, and I was
Okay.
like, "Well, shit, I'm not going to play." Had a coach that ran a kind of spread offense, and I played tight end, and that just wasn't
Sure.
wasn't going to mix. So I was like, I'm not going to play a lot, and I knew that graduation was looming, and so I basically said, "Hey, I failed at football, but how can I make this better?" And my brother was in real estate. I transferred down to CU Denver to finish my 4th year. Moved in with my parents, so was had to look myself in the eye of like, hey, I'm done living this college life. I'm gonna consider that a failure, but I'm gonna learn from it. And it wasn't really even that much of a failure.
Sure.
But moved in with my parents. Basically, it started at U.S. Bank to earn money. Got my real estate license. Was kind of hustling with that on the side. It's really slow your first couple of years, but was just throwing shit at the wall, seeing what
Right.
stuck.
You're building that
And
network.
and yeah, and graduate school, but basically sacrifice your senior year of college, supposed to be your best year of your life. But I sacrificed that year to try and get ahead. And I could say that I'm lucky enough to be competitive or ahead of a lot of my peers right now, and know what I want to do, building a career and exponentially becoming more successful in that
Mhm.
career. And that year really paid off. But that I had to look myself in the face of kind of growing up and looking at that failure as a positive, and just really kind of manning up with the decision, and kind of being able to eat some shit and earn your lumps. But it's made me, I mean, I feel like I'm at age 30 in progression. I'm only 26 basically.
Yeah.
So it's paid off, but it definitely was hard along the way
Dude,
for
I
sure.
I loved that. I really did. Thank you for sharing that. And that's one of the reasons why I had to overcome that uncertainty to get you in here, because I knew we were gonna. I mean, shoot, we're 15 minutes in, and I'm learning these really cool pieces of your story
Yeah, it's always
that
fun
are
talking with
super
friends.
inspiring,
Sure.
man. What I honestly love about that the most is you had the bravery to call the ending of your football experience failure.
Yeah.
Most people would experience
blame
that
the
exact
scenario,
same thing.
Be like, oh, shoot, I should have went to a different school.
Well, not
or
only that,
yeah.
not only the excuse aspect of it, but most people would
say
be in
that's
the exact
best
same
part of their life.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
They would say,
I was like, I won't be.
Yeah.
I think it was a
That's what I was
testament
getting
of
at
my
is-
parents and the way I was raised. I was like, this will not be my defining factor.
Yes. You don't cling to it as
it's such a
look
small
what
part.
I
It's
used
such
to
a small
do.
part of your life, and something that I saw people that graduated, and they were guys that were really good at football.
Yeah.
Got pro looks, but didn't have it. I mean, that small 1% of the 1% of the 1% that made college. I mean, that's just crazy. But they would still come to the locker room and hang out and like try to work out and stuff. And I'm like, you already graduated. There's so much life to live right now, and you could be so successful.
Yep.
I'm like, what the hell are you doing? So, I consider it a failure. Yeah, but I was kind of ready and hungry to kind of, it felt like a little bit of going back, but I knew I was going to be so much more forward in kind of the couple of years of sacrificing that. But definitely missed, kind of my last year of college. But I mean, nowadays, I have the flexibility to kind of do whatever I want now. If I want to go on vacation and do whatever I can, and I kind of earn that flexibility. So
absolutely, man.
it was worth it for sure.
Of course, I'm so proud of you for that, dude. That takes a very strong mental person to acknowledge failures. Literally, while I was driving here today. Do you listen to 103.3 The Fan?
All the time. Yeah.
So I'm listening to Schlereth and Evans this morning.
Okay.
And Schlereth said, which he doesn't usually get super deep or
it depends.
Philosophical.
He gets emotional sometimes.
He does.
Yeah.
But this morning, again, he's talking about the Broncos. But he said, if you'll never get to where you want to go if you can't take responsibility for where you are. And it just it hit me out of nowhere because I just wasn't ready for Schlereth to say that of all people, especially while I'm listening to someone talk about football. But I feel like that resonates very, very well with what you just shared with me, because you acknowledged where you were, you analyzed where you were and said, all right, I've made it this far. I'm playing D1 football, but I also know that continuing on this path isn't going to be what gets me to this ultimate goal down the road.
I just always, and being an athlete was successful just trying to get ahead, staying after practice, with studies, just trying to study extra, whatever, put in that extra work. With my career, I put in that extra work, and that it's just been very beneficial.
Yeah.
And
that's
I think
awesome.
that's a good mentality to have with it, and just really understand where you are and embrace where you are instead of looking forward or looking behind. You really have to be present, but with the right plan to an extent. There's
absolutely,
there's some wavering in that for sure.
And the fact that you made that decision at 22 years old.
That's
pretty impressive, man.
It was tough. It definitely missed a lot of the final year of college, but I mean, my final year of college was work, and it got me ahead to, not have to work a 9 to 5 now, not have to, rely on my time as a commodity. Now I'm the commodity. So absolutely. It's been great, and I have not regretted it at all.
Dude, I like that. That was a confident ass statement right there. Yeah. I like that. Shit. We're going to need that on a t-shirt.
I'm the commodity.
I'm the commodity. That's dope. I like that. Woo, this is good already, man. So part of your and I's past conversation, when we were kind of talking about coming on the show, we both transitioned almost intuitively to lessons we can learn in a sales environment, that also translate to life as well. And this is something I've spent a lot of time thinking about since that conversation. And realistically, man, I attribute a lot of what I've been able to do to what I learned in sales. For example, I started in retail sales. In high school, I worked at a sporting goods store, and I literally sold football and lacrosse equipment to parents of kids. And yeah, that was really, really valuable, even though it wasn't even a true sales position. I was getting paid minimum wage hourly. It wasn't me selling a football helmet determined my paycheck.
Yeah.
But I think at a young age, there's so many good lessons you can learn, being in a sales forced environment from a job perspective, even if it's part-time. One of which was just being comfortable speaking with new people. That was something I wasn't super great at a young age. I'm assuming most high school, even college age kids.
So many kids are progressively getting worse at. I'm kind of worried about the next generation and just completely being glued to screens and stuff and not being able to interact with anyone.
Sure.
And now the workforce is teaching everyone to just rely on Zoom and everything. And I think it'll have some ramifications, but
it very well could. It very
and
well
it'll
could.
be, this is the best skill you can have, being able to talk to people
Yeah.
and being able to just connect with people, not be super awkward or anything.
Well, I mean, hell, you can even make awkward work for you. You know, if you identify it as a potential strength. But
As long as you're there. But a lot of people are, too scared to even talk to anyone. And
sure,
a lot of people have zero communication skills.
well, there's so much power in being able to build a network that comes from being able to speak to people.
Sure.
Like I have opportunities and have had opportunities and will continue to have opportunities that come from the people that I've built strong relationships with. Um, that probably wouldn't have happened unless I was brave enough to start a conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably have.
That's my whole job.
Absolutely.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah. And I
absolutely.
just I'm really, really thankful for that. And I honestly don't think I would have taken the time to analyze that without our conversation we had the other week. But I mean, yeah, speaking confidently to new people, as well as speaking confidently about an area of expertise. I think that was just as important. And again, my brain went back to like when I was a young kid. A lot of the people I was talking to or selling a product to, they were parents. You know, these are people that were 20, 30 years my senior. This is an authority figure. This is someone I've been taught to respect and basically understand that they know more than me. But you also have to get yourself into a position where you're comfortable telling them that you know more about something.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a piece of sales. It's being so familiar with your product or your service that you can be a trusted partner in
Yeah. And
the
that's
source.
kind of tangent on that. That's a lot of my career. There's a lot of old real estate agents that are 20, 30 years my senior,
Mhm.
that are almost probably could be my parents.
Sure.
And that's my competition a lot of time. I go on a listing presentation, someone else is like, oh, this other person has been doing this for 20, 30 years. But what I really pitch is just knowing my shit and
Mhm.
just knowing what I'm doing. But then B, saying, hey, the buyer for this is going to be more in my generation, and, being able to adapt to. And with Compass, which is the best, like they're a tech company, and they're groundbreaking, that they are a tech. They're not a real estate company. They're a tech company that came in and acquired all the top teams across the nation and in the best
Okay.
markets. Now they're number one brokerage in Colorado because they're that tech forward and forward thinking. And that's really what I'm selling, is just being able to be the expert in the area, but then saying that my technology puts me 50 years ahead of someone else, instead of just the straight experience. Because
Mhm.
I mean, I really think it's being comfortable in the moment, and then knowing why you're kind of the best fit. But then also it's just going for it, and
Yeah.
being in the room and everything. And that's something I have. It took a lot of practice, but now I have no doubts or anything. Just talking to someone and just
Absolutely.
saying yes. And Ryan Serhant, the number one brokerage in the world, or number one broker in the world, he has a whole chapter in his book. He has a few books, but he's like, just say yes, the power of yes. He got like some cold email that sounded like spam from like the Prince of Malaysia, and he's like, hey, I have to park $20 million in New York City and was just wanted to look at apartments. And he replied to that with yes, okay, and ended up doing like, I think 15, $20 million in real estate with him, just because he said yes. I mean, I
Oh
think a
my
lot of
gosh.
people don't commit enough to things, and just really need to just say yes and get out there.
I
But
like that.
there's my tangent.
No, dude, I love that. Thank you for taking over on that one, man. No, you're spot on though. You're absolutely spot on. There's so many different things you can learn from, even if it's not something you spend your career doing. I think it's important to expose yourself to that at some point, whether it's high school, college, gain that experience where you can put yourself in a pretty uncomfortable position, even a position where some or the majority of your income is based on your ability to succeed at these traits, because you're not going to change unless you're forced to. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
we're humans as a
And the commission puts
it
your back
does.
against the wall. That's why commissions are so high on
You
things.
you will absolutely do something that you're uncomfortable doing if you know it will be the difference in you paying your rent or your mortgage.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you'll
absolutely.
you'll find a way to make it happen. Another one I jotted down was listening more than talking. That was one I struggled with probably more than any other lesson I could come up with. And
It's one of the hardest things to do.
dude, it's
That
tough.
if you really have something, if you're in sales, a lot of
Mhm.
people think that being in sales, you have to talk and guide it most of the time.
Right.
So you kind of get your pitch out, and then you listen. If you really listen, you hear what the buyer or seller, or I mean, in my job, I work with buyers and sellers, so I'm kind of the commodity to an extent.
Right.
Um, I'm the vessel to per se, but really listening to your buyer or seller or your client, and they'll kind of guide it where you want to go, and then you just guide it where they want it to go, and you can be far more beneficial than, if they're turned off by your pitch or whatever. It's just kind of shutting up helps so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of people that are new in sales positions are,
Overcompensate.
yeah,
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
it's very easy for them to do that because they're very focused on all the new knowledge they just learned about the product or service or the company they're working with, and they want to tell that prospect everything they know. They want to convince them like I'm knowledgeable, I know this, I'm the person you want to do this with. But the reality of it is, while that information is useful, the most important thing you can do in that time is know the person sitting across from you, know their drive in why they're there that day, what emotion brought them to you that day, and what the need of the potential purchase is. It doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's a gym membership, a home, a car, even something smaller like a laptop from Best Buy. It,
You
we
kind of have the same list of questions and the need
exactly.
that it needs to fill.
Exactly.
Um,
They're
s-
they're there because they've convinced themselves that that purchase will help them get somewhere or feel something.
sure.
You don't identify that without asking the right questions and listening more than speaking. And again, like I said, like that's a tough one. Like I've been in sales literally since I was a teenager. Still do it to this day, and I'm there's still times where I'm going, dude, like shut up and like literally get to know
Like
this
thinking of the
person.
next thing you're gonna say, then you're like,
Yeah,
shit, did I even hear what they're saying?
dude, we
Like,
mentioned it on I can't remember. I think it was Tony Polidoro's episode. Um the it's the battle of being interested versus speaking to sound interesting. We're usually so up in our head that while you're telling me all about what you know, I'm sitting
not
here
even listening.
acting like I'm
Yeah,
listening, going, oh, but what can I respond with that makes me sound just as interesting as you are sounding
yeah,
now?
sure.
And it's tough. Like that is an internal battle we all face. Because we're very caught up in what we think other people think of us typically. But no, like those are amazing, amazing lessons that you can learn in these environments. And I'm actually super glad you said something a moment ago about the power of yes, because I identified an equally promising lesson, which is the power of no, the power of dealing with rejection. Um, and this is something you've already kind of highlighted on in your past, in dealing with college football. You identified that this was a path that maybe wasn't going to pan out the way you originally thought. I mean, you could argue that that's a form of rejection, and you were forced to adapt, to revise your plan, to change your blueprint, and change who you are to continue on your path to success. And you just in a very realistic in comparison, you also probably deal with that on a regular basis now
Yeah,
in your sales position. You
yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
always get the yes. You don't always get the listing or the
It's
sale.
90% of the time it's a
Is it that
no.
high?
It just really depends. In my profession, there is
Hmm.
so much competition, and then also there's so many different kind of technology companies that are pimping out realtors to an extent where you
Okay.
can you can work with realtor.com and pay less of a fee on your sale, and then it's like a team approach to your listing, or you can just press call agent on Zillow and they'll get a bunch of different realtors on you, and
Right.
each realtor's claiming that lead. But it's really just about my philosophy is, if someone tells you no, that's one more step closer to yes, and it's just extending the conversation there. If they're like, no, I don't want to see this, and you're like, okay, why? Or ask them another question with that, or
Hmm.
like, is it bad timing? Is it not the right place? Is it not the right whatever it wants to be? But you just want to extend that conversation more and more. And then it's also being told that, because you never want to burn a bridge. You never want to say, well, okay, fuck you, I don't want to work with you anymore. You say best of luck and just try to add value. But dealing with that no, I think that there's always no's an answer still. And I Grant Cardone touched on this on a few of his different episodes and whatever. I mean, he does so much shit that
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's a just
He's
media
everywhere.
media machine. He said no is still an answer. You'd rather have no than just no answer at all. So all I will spam someone with, not spam them, but I'll text them every day, be like, hey, how's it going? Do you want to see this? Hey, what are your thoughts on this? Hey, whatever, just to extend the conversation, to get them to tell me no, fuck off.
Right.
That's at least an answer. It's not just nothing. So you just really have to add value, and it's how you deal with that no as almost a positive and just keep it going, I think, is so important. And so many people are so gun shy and so turned off by a no that they take it personally or whatever. It's just you're not feeling that need for them right at the moment. But if you extend that conversation, you could be beneficial at another time. And that's not just in home sales. You can put that in any sort of sales job or any sort of life scenario in a capacity. If you're trying to date a girl, if she says no to you, it don't freak out or anything, say, okay, whatever. If there's anything else I can do, let me know. and just maybe stick around. You might get lucky. But if you freak out and burn that bridge or you're too scared to even ask, you can't even get that no.
That's right.
No's an answer. And you can always kind of fall forward on that as just an answer.
Dude, I love that. The thing that stuck out about everything you said to me was, I think right at the beginning, that no is a step on the way to yes.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, that is the ideology and purpose of this program. It is that failure is not the end. It is a additional stepping stone towards success. It's up to you if you choose to make it the end. If you go into business for yourself and it doesn't work out and you decide to hang up your hat and say, okay, I'm going back to the safety of my 9-to-5 job.
If you get told one no, and you're just done.
Then at that point, failure is the end. No is the end. But if you also take that same circumstance and say, okay, this didn't work. What do I need to do better for it to work next time? Or I got the no. How can I be more, educated or a better resource for this person in the future? Now you're utilizing that failure, that no, as a step forward. You're literally failing forward at that point and allowing yourself to learn from your experiences. And people miss out on that because they're scared of the no. They're scared of failure.
And the biggest thing I kind of want to touch on this was that no is not the worst thing that's going to happen to you ever.
No.
And I couple that into just the athlete mentality. Growing up playing football in college and everything, if you did bad or, messed up on a play or your team was messing up or out of line, you had to go run a lap or do burpees or whatever. And that sucks. Like doing extra work in that regard, like physical labor sucks. That's the worst thing ever. And so when I got into, the white collar job and everything, I'm like, okay, the worst thing someone could say is no. They're not going to make you run. They're not going to make you do a burpee. They're not going to make you do a push up and be physically in pain.
There are no physical repercussions.
Say no, I'm going to go and throw as much balls at the wall and see what one comes back.
Yeah.
And that I think that's the biggest thing that people are so scared of. And it's just, you have to have at bats. You have to put yourself on the court of your own life. And that's a very famous saying. And that's something I live by every day for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You've definitely, I think you developed it at a young age, but you've held on to it and continued to evolve a very strong mindset. And it's something you should absolutely hold on to and continue to work on, man.
Because it doesn't get me in trouble at some point. But in my field and in the way I do my life, it's very beneficial. And it's almost, I had to fake it till I make it. Till I made it for a long time.
Sure.
And that is the best advice I can have to, if we have any young entrepreneurs listening or people to just getting started a career, fake it till you make it. You put yourself in an at bat because you think, oh, there's so many people that have been doing this for longer than me or are better than me at anything. They aren't. They're all doing the same shit. They're all providing the same service. You just have to have an at bat and just be in front of someone and then just fake it till you make it and find out later. Say yes, find out later. Say yes and find out later, and you'll reap the reward at the end because you're on the court of your own life for sure.
What I loved about that is you do bring up a very, very good point. I think a lot of people are hesitant or scared or uncertain to start something of their own because somebody else has already done it. But the reality of it is
so many people looking for products. So your buyer pool's so big. No matter what product it is, you think because okay, so I say I'm a realtor. I'm interested in real estate. My Instagram is flooded with realtors and Facebook friends that are realtors. And I think, this person already saw a realtor or whatever, but they really didn't. They don't give a shit about that. That's one subset of their psyche. There is it's America. There you can find someone to fill what you're selling at some point. You just have to be out there.
But
you can't find what's not out there.
No one will do it like you did.
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
if it's the most, just thick water in that, field that you want to go into. There's businesses around every corner that do what you want to do. No one will do it the way you do it. You're always going to have the ability to provide a unique aspect, whether it's going into real estate, starting a podcast, starting your own business in something that's already been done. Not everything has to be innovative. Not everything has to be groundbreaking. do something that you're passionate about and have energy for, and do it the way you would do it. And the reality of it is, it will bring value to someone likely. And I think that's very much worth noting.
You never know who sees what you're selling at a certain time, who someone knows that you help out. I mean, I can't tell that there's few dozen clients of mine that started out as, just some base level rental where I'm making $1,000 or whatever.
Sure.
That ended up into buyers, or they know someone who bought $1 million house, or they know someone who just introduces you into the gold mine. But it's just getting out there and doing stuff, but then having the same level of service with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I struggle with immensely on the real estate side, because I get paid on the price, period.
Yeah.
So $1 million, it's a way more money than $200,000 purchase. So,
sure.
But really just, I think you have to take pride in yourself and your brand that you're conveying, whether it be a product or, myself is just, I'm the service. And then just being very consistent with that. But I mean, again, just a couple with the theme, it's just being out there.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there.
It's keeping an open mind towards opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
I was literally out golfing with buddies like 2 weekends ago, and we, the cart girl came around and we grabbed some beverages, and as my other 3 guys that I'm golfing with they've paid, they've turned around and are walking back towards their cart. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't catch your name, and stuck out my hand. She told me her name. Her name's Cynthia, by the way. I introduced myself, and I said, thanks again, Cynthia. We'll see you on the back 9. Walk away, and right away, one of the guys was like, dude, why are you wasting your time like getting to know the cart girl? I literally said, I was like, dude, I don't know who her husband is, who her brother is.
She obviously has an in at a country club.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be a member at a country club like this one day. I don't know who she knows. Like, why would I treat someone less than what I feel is morally applicable because of what they do? Or like you just have to realize that there's opportunity everywhere. You just have to put yourself in the position to receive it. If you're closed off and making predetermined decisions of results, then that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get that response. But if you're out there looking for opportunity, is everything going to turn into one? No. But you're going to find a hell of a lot more.
It's just how you deal, again. I mean, same to couple with the earlier, like how you deal with that no, and not making it. It's a fine line to walk, but you need to be out there, but then being able to just deal with what's conveyed back to you and how you react. Everything is, you have to proactively react, which is contradictory, but you have to proactively get yourself out there, but then you have to react to what someone's saying.
Absolutely.
But that's sales. And
life.
It is. And sales and life have so many correlations. There's tons of books and videos and everything on sales and life skills. And you have to be able to deal with it.
Yeah. And not everyone's going to read all those books, but that's why they have us.
Yeah.
That's why they have us.
We're taking a short break from our episode to inform you that season 1 of the Failing Forward podcast is brought to you by Atlas Nutrition. Guys, Atlas Nutrition is a brand that I've known for really since they started. But more importantly, I've known the people that started this company since I was a little kid. These are people dedicated to helping you reach your overall health and fitness goals. They're a team of experts who have been committed to helping others for their entire life. Regardless of what you have in mind for your health and fitness, they absolutely have a coach and a program fit for you. They offer personalized plans offering everything from weight loss, body transformation, digestive health, corrective nutrition, performance nutrition, and even contest prep. And I myself am absolutely someone who would testify to what they're able to do. Just a little over a month ago, I contacted one of their senior coaches, Lauren, to tell her that I was actually experiencing some inflammation in my digestive system. Actually, to be quite honest, I didn't know that's what I was experiencing, but Lauren helped me identify that. Not only did she make changes to my meal plan to help bring in some foods that wouldn't upset my digestive system as much as things were, but she also wrote me a brand new nutrition protocol in terms of supplementation. And I kid you not, guys, I'm still on the recommendations she gave for me over a month ago, but I was feeling better in 24 hours. That is not an ad, guys. That is me telling you that I've had really, really excellent experiences with everyone I've come in contact with from this organization. Regardless of what you hope to achieve in terms of your health and fitness, they will have the right coach and the right program for you. And to be honest, I just couldn't be more excited and more pumped up to be a partner with Atlas Nutrition for the season sponsorship. And the reason is because they uphold the failing forward mentality. Whether it's to the coaches they employ or the clients they support, they prioritize the importance of properly feeding the mind, body, and soul. And we talk about that all the time on this program, guys. It's not just about what you're doing physically, the information you're reading, the podcast you're listening to. you have to really attack it from all sides. It's about everything you absorb. They understand that growth and development comes from more than just nutrition. It's what you're feeding your mind, your body, and your soul. If you're searching for accountability, education, and guidance in pursuit of improving your physical health, I would absolutely recommend contacting their team. You can reach them at atlasnutritionllc.com or visit them on Instagram at atlasnutritionofficial. Remember, tell them Jared from Failing Forward sent you. Guys, if you're ready to take your physical health and fitness and make it your number one priority, then they're ready to make you theirs. Reach Atlas Nutrition today, guys. I promise you won't regret it.
No, you actually went perfectly into my next point, which was kind of a little bit of the perception of sales people as a whole. I think they do sometimes get a bad rep. And it's because we've all bought something before that we probably didn't need, or it was of lower quality than we thought because, someone talked us into it. And for that reason, I think people sometimes do look at salespeople or people in sales positions in a negative light. But I think it comes back to what our definition of sales is. And I think a lot of people have the interpretation that being in sales is the ability to properly communicate information in order to obtain the sale. I think that's wrong. I think that's entirely false. I think it's more along the lines of what you said earlier of sales is being good at the process after you've been told no. I can open a book and learn a listing and communicate the information. But if I'm told no, I don't know what to do because I'm not in that space.
What,
yeah.
You have to be researched.
I've for being in sales as long as I have, I've had plenty of people that I've worked alongside or for, or even above them, where they had a great personality for sales. They're, good at talking to people. They can make people laugh. They can talk to new people well. They can remember information. And that all like adds up to being like, oh, this person should be good at sales. But 90% of the time, that person, once they do get the no, it's shut down. It's shut down. Those are the people that immediately make excuses of, oh, they were never going to buy. That was a poor opportunity, whatever. They're the ones that will make excuses for the no. Real salespeople understand that everything else is more a benefit if you have those traits. If you have the ability to connect with people, the ability to, get to know them on a personal level in a short amount of time, those are all benefits, but it's not the actual process. Sales and being good at sales, being great at sales, I should say, is getting the rejection and understanding that this is the actual sales process. Communicating all that information, getting to know you, that's just me being me. But now it's, okay, I really need to actually understand in a more detailed manner what you need.
You have to be addicted to the sale.
Yes.
You have to be 100% addicted to the sale and addicted to the outcome. If you're in sales and anyone that's in sales is in it for the money or filling a need of some sort, and you don't like the things that you're getting fulfilled on, or you don't like the things that you spend money on, it's not worth it at all. It's so hard.
Yeah.
But you have to be addicted. I mean, I love nice things. I love, propelling myself in the career. I love being able to take care of myself and provide. So that's what I'm addicted to the sale. And you have to treat every aspect of that as the addiction. If I get a no, I'm like, great, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost to the end. I'm almost to, my end drug.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, and I myself, and I think anyone that's good at sales has an addictive personality.
Sure.
An addictive personality can be good and horrible at the same time. I guarantee if I tried heroin, I'd love it. And then, that'd be the end of me. But I have an addictive personality myself. I've harnessed it in a way to be extremely beneficial to myself. I'm very regimented. I'm very addicted to my craft. I'm addicted to going to the gym and taking care of myself. So I've had those addictive traits help me, but you definitely need to have those traits in you, because a lot of people in sales that it seems like it's never good luck on their end.
Sure.
And they're offered, they have the same balls in their court. It's you have to have that close in you. You have to have that kind of end goal in sight and always keep at it. And that no is part of the end goal.
Absolutely. And I think a big piece of that is being comfortable in the uncomfortable. When you get that no, to be able to continue the conversation, that it doesn't matter how that conversation went prior. It's now an uncomfortable conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are asking questions that you haven't asked before at that point. You're digging to a deeper level that you haven't dug with that person yet. And if you're not I don't want to use the term brave, but if you're not willing, I guess,
gotta
to get into that,
the for lack of a better word, have the balls.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Girls can have balls too in the scenario
of course they can.
having to be out there and
I know
put
some
yourself
sales
out
women
there.
with
Oh yeah,
huge balls.
yeah, absolutely. But you can't really say you get what we're saying.
No, you're absolutely right. It's I mean, it's spot on. It's understanding that it's a part of the process. There's a very, very distinct separation between the people who get the no and are immediately, well, if something changes, here's my card. Thanks for coming in.
They're never gonna fucking call you.
Exactly. Like you just wasted.
They're never gonna cut. If you're in sales and someone doesn't love something right away and buys it right away, they don't technically need it, or don't technically like it, or don't technically like you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be extremely proactive and always chase them and just be addicted to that end goal. I think that's the best route. And if you're not cut out for it, it's not the right field. And I myself, and I want to like clarify, I'm not perfect at this at all. It's not like I'm like texting all my clients every day and whatever, but even just having these conversations makes me want to do better. So this podcast is working on myself.
Awesome.
So.
I love that. No, I think there is a personality that typically does a little bit better, but it's by no means not anything you can't teach yourself or learn from others to do.
It from,
it's understanding that you're
whatever.
It's understanding that you're not great at it now. Getting better at it's going to be uncomfortable, but you're willing to be uncomfortable. And I think that's a fantastic metaphor for just life in general. If you're venturing into unknown waters, again, starting a new business, starting a new relationship, even. I mean, that's an amazing example right there, is getting to know somebody that you're excited about, but you're unsure of, is uncomfortable.
Probably most of the time it's going to end up in heartbreak and then pissing you off.
Well,
but
it doesn't matter who
at least
it is.
You're out there. We still all chase love all the time.
Yeah.
Why don't you chase, you need money almost as much as love. Why don't you chase that enough? And people shut down with a no so much.
They do.
I think it's a mentality you have to have across all aspects of life. And it might be too much for some people at some point. But that's why a lot of people. That's why you don't see everyone's a millionaire. Not everyone's a millionaire. Not everyone. Anyone listening to this wants to either know how to be successful, wants to know experiences that have led to you being successful, or hear about kind of your failures and how we're imperfect. But everyone who's listening to this wants to be better, or try to connotate it with themselves. So you just always have to keep striving and always be on the core to your own life. I keep on saying that, but
yeah,
it's applicable to relationships, sales, your job, your faith, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Something funny that popped into my head, I think it was yesterday, as I was like kind of, again, visualizing this conversation, kind of going over things that we'd talk about. I remembered, man, when I was like 2021, I was in retail sales, made some of my best friends in that time of my career. But we used to have this phrase, and I don't know if this is like a known phrase or this is something we came up with as a team, but we had a phrase that we'd say, we need to make shit sparkle. And we would say that when we had things on the shelf that had been there for too long and we needed to move them.
Let's make it look new.
Well, yeah, and it was talking about things to exaggerate the quality, and I think, again, that kind of ties into some salespeople getting a little bit of a bad rep because, I was guilty of it. Like in my early 20s, we absolutely did that. Our, owners of the stores would say, hey, we need to move this product and no one really likes it. So what did we do? We'd talk about it like it was our favorite thing. And it moved. But there's a good salesperson can make shit sparkle. A great salesperson can point out and identify the shit and still help someone find value in it. And
that's all the time.
Dude, the reason I liked that this popped in my head is because I think this correlates with real estate sales really well.
So much.
And I'm going to tell another story real quick. I'll be fast.
Yeah, no,
but fine. Again, as I mentioned, my wife and I are house shopping right now. We have our primary real estate agent that we work with. She's actually the mother of one of our good friends. So we know her personally. She's fantastic. But she's a straight shooter. I love that about her.
Sucks.
She will, nice. Dude. And she knows what we want, but she'll tell us, like, if I send her a house that we want to see, she'll get it scheduled. We'll get there. We'll be walking up the path and she'll say, hey, just so you know, this, and this is going to check off your boxes. You're going to hate this. And she'll tell me right out of the gate, which I don't know,
yeah,
maybe it's
you were
just me,
right.
but I love that because now I have the correct standards going into the home, but I also am already thinking, okay, before I even see it, I need to start asking myself the question of, is it something livable or something that we do have the ability to update and make livable, depending on what it is. And the reason like that kind of conversation stands out is because there has been a couple of days where we've asked to go see some homes and we just couldn't fit in her schedule. So she asked another agent from her office to take us. And don't get me wrong, all the other people we've gone with on occasion have been great people, great agents. But they make shit sparkle. For example, we walked in one house, and maybe it's just my pet peeve, but I can't stand when closets don't have doors and they have curtains. Like it's usually like one out of in a house or something. Like it's something like weird. But like we walked in one house, I kid you not, there was like 6 closets that were all curtain rods instead of doors. And I voiced this to her right away. And she immediately turns around and goes, I think their use of curtains is very interesting. And I literally like eye rolled so hard. I was like now I just told you I hate it. Like just if you think it's interesting, that's fine. But
that's a testament of not listening.
But I was
that's
like,
a testament of your point to not
exactly
listening.
Like instead of trying to make shit sparkle in my eyes, bring me over to one of the doors and tell me how easy it's going to be to put the door in that I want. Paint the picture in my mind that this still has value instead of breaking my trust by not lying, but exaggerating the truth. And am I onto something there? Like as far as like there, I know there's agents that are
people. I think we realtors have the worst rap.
And
everyone pictures the 50-year-old old lady that's all done up in her pantsuit and has her hair all in a bob, and they're just faking it about the house and telling you all these great things and making it seem like the best thing ever. When in reality, I mean, you see 10 places with someone, they're going to hate 9 of them.
Sure.
So, and it's just your way to deal with that and really be able, I have found it, a lot of my clients I meet through, we do large ad spend on Zillow and meet just strangers. Yeah. And I have to basically meet them and make a correlation and have them not click call agent again, because then they wouldn't be my client. So I have to build that rapport and kind of clarify that I'm your agent now.
Yeah.
And you really have to make that connection. And I've found it most beneficial just to be honest. And then also couple that with listening and really being able to, I mean, a lot of the times I try to not act like the perfect agent. And it's not like I'm in there with my phone, like this is this square feet and this many bedrooms, blah, blah, blah. It's like really trying to make your clients feel comfortable in the setting, feel comfortable with the sale. And, you have to know what you're doing, but really being able to just be honest and say, oh, these ceilings are really low, or, what, that kitchen sucks. But then say, hey, flip side of this, if you want to redo the kitchen, it's this much. If you want, but look at, where you are in location. Does that mean more than you? And just really setting, a lot of people shop for a home and a lot of products and they want to be perfect, and really setting expectations.
Yep.
If they're at an in-demand price point, 400,000, 500,000, you're not really going to get the perfect place that fits all your exact options, unless you're, way out in location. But if you want right price, location, size, everything, you're going to have to sacrifice on a couple of things. And I think it's really just setting those expectations, and it's best to set expectations up front than to be kind of unpleasantly surprise someone later. But I think moral of that kind of story is just honesty and just making someone feel comfortable, and then listening, just open your ears.
For me, it's the difference in trust. If you're making shit sparkle, you said it yourself. You're showing you're not listening.
You're gonna show whatever and make it seem like the best thing ever. What's your honest opinion of this?
If we are pulling up to a property and you say, hey, this checks these boxes for you, here's the ones it doesn't, but I still think it could work. You showed me right now that you know me, you know my needs, and you're looking out for an opportunity that fits those needs.
And it kind of paints, coupled on something I touched earlier, it helps the buyer or client guide themselves. And you're like, hey, these things aren't right, but it was really high on your list to be in this location or this school district or have this size or this style of kitchen or something. And it makes them guide, oh, is this something I'd sacrifice here? And lets them, if you're too negative and you're like, this has this and this wrong with it and it sucks, and you go in and you're going to hate it. But if it has maybe a couple things that you could couple into, hey, but look at this, and show the brighter side, and not really make shit sparkle, but kind of guide it in a different direction. I think, your client, your perspective, in my case, my client, my buyer or seller, or the prospective client of anything, they came to you, they walked in the door, they answered your call or whatever, they had an interest in it at some point. So it's now just about guiding that interest and making sure that the biggest thing ever is trust and honesty with them in that, to get them to just work with you to the end goal.
Well, the reality of it is, shit can be someone's treasure. Like it can be their prize. Like if you're looking at a first time home buyer maybe doesn't want a fixer upper. They maybe want, I'm just speaking from like my own perspective, but they maybe want something that's a little bit more, it's livable right now, but there's things we can do on our own over time. Whereas a real estate investor, they might want something that's lower on the market.
More competitive.
It is.
It's crazy.
But it's the fact that they might see something that a first time home buyer says, hell no, I'm not living there. They might see that and go, we can get a great price on a home with great structure and great bones, and we can really turn this into something that works for us.
And it's really, really about listening to your client and what they want, because in my field, and I look at thousands of places a day just on my phone. I can go through it really quick. And I have my own kind of style, but my style, I can't tell you how many times we've seen 3 places and my client, and I'm like, oh, this one's the winner by far, and I'm like about to say it, and they're like, oh no, we like this one. I was like, oh, okay. And it's just really removing yourself from that and listening. And then also, you could be like personally, and I think you have to remove your personal aspect from any sales or any sales aspect, because you can't say, I love the color blue, you're selling a red product and the blue product's out the door. You have to remove your personal kind of connotation with that and just see what works for the client. Because you could love a big yard and it has a small yard and it works for them.
Sure.
But it's really just about having those at bats and then being honest with yourself and honest with how you're conveying yourself to your client, and then realizing as the salesperson that your client is making the decisions, and kind of taking yourself out of it and being humble with kind of the way you convey yourself and your opinions.
Absolutely. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. It does. It comes down to trust, and that's one of the most.
The cheesy salesman age is very over.
It is.
The in your face car salesman and whatever. And
are we going to get away from the verbiage used by real estate agents, like cozy?
There's some funny. I follow this page called The Broke Agent, and they do like just like funny real estate shit that like makes fun of other agents and stuff. It's like it's all that stuff, like cozy meaning it's the smallest place ever, or historic meaning it hasn't been updated in 50 years or whatever. It's really funny. I think we are tending to veer away from that because people are doing a lot more on their own.
Sure.
That I think when they get me as an agent and I show up in just casual clothes and just I'm honest with them, or show up in a suit and say, hey, I'm going to guide this whole situation. I think just being yourself and being honest is the most important aspect you can take to any sales career, and it's the connotation that a lot of people don't have with salespeople. It's like, oh wow, when they make like a personal relationship with that person, they'll work with someone. Someone will work with their friend regardless. So it's really just building that up, and it's a lot harder when you're meeting strangers. But again, couples with just saying yes to things and getting out there.
Do you think that transition, like away from the cheesy descriptive adjectives, is more in part due to like the technology we have now? Like you can do 3D tours on your phone.
And it's, I haven't like had, but if you have agents from 10, 20 years ago, used to be you had so much value as a realtor because you're like, this is what's available. You can't even see it online if you want to. I have these 5 properties that I got from the newspaper and we're going to go see them. And this is kind of all that exists. And now it's the flip side of the buyer is doing basically my job, looking for the house and everything, because they're going to look on Zillow a lot more than I'm not going to be up at 2 a.m. scrolling through houses for them.
Right.
They're going to be looking through the whole thing, and you have to then be just available to open the door. And then my value comes a lot more on kind of contractual sides and I'm almost a lawyer at this point, is the contractual side and being able to help them. But it's really trust. I mean, I find great pride in like having my client's best interests at heart and really getting them a deal and everything. But it's really just getting that trust and then showing that your value is there on that side, because you can very easily, a lot of salespeople in general, I mean, it happens to me all the time, they get looked over. They're like, oh, this person showed me this, I'm done with it now, see ya, throw it away. But you really have to be able to just like, I think creating a personal connection with someone is so important, and a lot of salesmen don't. And I think just really because people have so much of a choice, basically, to kind of answer your question, people have so much choice and room to decide what they want. And they can get things so quick that you really have to be sticky and just create a personal relationship.
You have to make them remember the way they felt with you. Almost.
Yeah.
Like if you're not being remembered, you're not getting called back, kind of thing.
And then just constantly harass them. Not harass.
Not in like a rude way.
like text, email, whatever.
Borderline
it's
restraining
easiest
order.
for me is just to put up like a automatic search and just hit them every day with new stuff. Because it's hey, you're interested in this. It's one email. Look over it if you're not. So.
Absolutely. Something I actually want to ask you about. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. You've been you read a lot of books in sales. This mindset of the real estate agent kind of thing. Do you ever read anything into like the psychology of sales, stuff like that before?
I've kind of, I go kind of on a roller coaster trip of like getting into like those self-help books and psychology and everything, because at the end of the day, and this will be an unpopular opinion, at the end of the day, you have to put yourself out there, and the amount of time that you're reading these kind of different self-help books and mantra things. I just think I'm in the career where I can just put myself out there a lot more and just constantly be in there. The underlying tone of all these things are put yourself out there, do it, and like basically say yes to everything. And it's kind of crafting it how to do your best job after you get to that point of saying yes. But I've found that I've learned best by just experience and just getting out there a lot more. And the biggest underlying thing is just saying yes and just being on the court of your own life. So I mean, those are the biggest takeaways that I've had on there, but I've listened to plenty of, Grant Cardone and Ed Milet and people like that and everything. And it helps kind of get you in that positive mindset. But there are, and I want to see if it's kind of a common theme. A lot of people get stuck on, I read this book. I listened to this podcast. I did this and this and this. And then, they're not successful still because they're kind of relying on that as a coping mechanism of like, I did this, but you reading 10 books doesn't mean you did shit. If I can get out there and meet 10 other clients, like the amount of time you read these books to perfect your craft, or perfect your craft, you're never going to be perfect until you have experience and just get out there. So that's my kind of 2 cents on it. Can definitely help you and definitely couple with that. But a lot of people get caught up on reading all these self-help books or listening to all these, different things that are trying to help them. Nothing's going to solve that question, but aside from just getting out there in your own life.
I really liked that.
It's a little contradictory. It's a little not popular, but I've seen it with a lot of my friends that are, posting that they're reading all these books and stuff. And then, I have a lot of agents that are friends posting that they're doing all this and doing all this. And I look at their numbers. It's not shit. I'm like, you gotta be at least doing something.
Yeah. See, and the reason I like that, I didn't like it because you just told all my listeners not to listen to podcasts.
No, but that's a reason to listen to, is to hear kind of this philosophy.
No, it's true, and
and it's not really with a lot of audio. It's a lot of like books. You think that you're getting something at the end of it, but you're not getting anything. You're learning something about yourself.
Yeah,
because you're the vessel. You're
gonna absorb it. You don't get the message that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, like I love to read. I love to listen to podcasts. For me, it's because it opens up my mind a new cognitive internal thought. I'm now analyzing something that an idea or a thought that I didn't before.
Yeah.
That's definitely my biggest takeaway from getting into those, self-help, self-education type of avenues. But I 100% agree with you. I absolutely value experience over education. Even I'll go as far to say that
for sure.
I think that's where the world is going. It's not super significant yet. There's still plenty of jobs that are requiring bachelor's degrees that by no means need a bachelor's degree. But there is a lot more newer, younger companies that are understanding that experience is the more valuable resource. I mean, a real simple analogy: if I was going to open my first business and I had 2 friends or acquaintances, one of which had a master's in business but had never ran a business before, and my other friend had started 3 businesses, but the first 2 failed, but doesn't have a college. But he doesn't have a college degree. I'm going to go with the second one because he has real life experience. He can sit there and tell me, well, hey, this is where I fucked up in business 1. This is where I messed up in number 2. This is what I got right in number 3. Does the person who has the college degree still have valuable information in their head? Sure. But there's a lot of information that they will have never even been accustomed to or experienced themselves because they've spent their entire time with their
Absolutely,
nose in a book.
And a lot of people try to, if they don't know how to deal with themselves and how to get themselves out there, they're like, oh no, I'll go back to school and get my master, or oh masters, or oh no, I'll read one more book, or oh no, I'll listen to one more thing, and it'll like thinking that I'll give them something.
Sure.
Nothing gives you anything. You have to just get out there. I mean, you're the thing. You're the item to give. Again, you're the commodity. So you have to just constantly get yourself out there. And
dude, that is going on a shirt. I want that. I'm a commodity shirt, and we'll quote you out on it.
That would be nice.
Dave Dipetro. That's gonna be awesome, dude. That was such a cool quote, though. No, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. You have to be willing to go out and make the mistakes yourself, and learn from those mistakes, and find who you are in that environment. I mean, I'm as you were talking, I'm kind of reflecting on like these psychology details or sales tactics that I've read and tried to put into implementation. And there's been a couple that I've, personalized and kept in my arsenal. But for the most part, what I consistently do is come back to what I've developed that I know works for me.
That you developed from experience.
Yeah, I've just tried and it didn't work. So I changed it and that one did work. So, okay, now I'm going to keep using that and I'm going to keep refining it. And I know that, I need to say it earlier in the process or later. Like you learn through all those no's, you learn through the yeses as well, because those uncomfortable moments you hit during the process. But you're absolutely right. You learn by trying. You learn by getting out and just failing and trying again. Not to take anything away from self-education or trying to put yourself in a better position or separate yourself from, other people on your team or separate yourself from other people in the industry. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage it, in fact, from my point of view. But you said something very, very powerful, and that's that none of that will do you any good if it's only remaining as information in your head. Unless you take that tactic, that tool, that lesson, and put it into action and make it yours, then that's all it's going to be, is something you read once.
Yeah, 100%.
That was good, man. Dude, I love that. Dude, we crushed an hour right there. I honestly feel like we just started talking.
I feel like we just started talking.
That was badass.
It's one of those where you look down, it'd be like 3 hours.
I was like, what the hell?
I missed my appointment.
I could do this for 2 more hours easy. But dude, that was so awesome. I'm glad we decided to do this. I'm glad I was brave enough to do this with you as well, because
wasn't that hard.
It's all right. But I'm glad we did it, because it taught me, which is something I've tried to teach myself in the past, is that we have the ability to learn something from anybody. There's always going to be someone who has more experience in a specific area than us. And it was fun to have someone who knows some things a hell of a lot more than me, but also knows some areas that I feel pretty comfortable with as well.
I learned a lot from you, and just being able to.
This was good.
See if other people have the association. And I think that's the whole point, probably, that you have, or that I know, is your whole point of this podcast is being able to have people associate themselves with the podcast and with the message, and see how other people that are different levels of success. And I think it's great that you have people that, it's not like you have everyone's a billionaire on this episode. It's people that have managed different levels of success in different capacities and way different fields, and how they learn from their failures and how they have failed forward, basically. And I caught, that's why I wanted to be on. I caught your tone immediately. And, once kind of the stars aligned, I was so ready and feel like I could offer a lot, because I'm an open book. I'm honest and upfront, and that's how I run myself and run my business and run my life. It shows,
man. It shows. And you're very, very comfortable in this space. If you got opportunities to do it again, I'd absolutely say chase it, because you do very well. Okay. But no, you hit the nail on the head. We as individuals, whether we know it or not, have typically more in common in regards to our failures or shortcomings than in our successes. If you and I sat down in a room and only talked about the things we were exceptional at, that list, there'd be a couple things on it. But if we start talking about everything,
with someone like, that person looks successful and they deal with the same, they had to fail at something, or they had to deal with the same anxieties or pressures or whatever. Everyone goes through that shit. We're all human. And so many of these podcasts and everything just focus on successes, and just focus on, I'm here and this is what I do and this is how I manage, this is my wake up and I cold plunge and all this shit. Like, that doesn't matter. It's like, how do you deal with the failures?
Right.
Because
I want to hear the morning you didn't want to do your cold plunge.
On these candid other sides. I mean, they'll tell you all their failures, and that's
right.
the most important thing to learn from, is because it gets you quickest then to that success.
That's right.
And that's why that's everyone's main goal, is to get to that
we all understand that we learn from our own mistakes, but for some reason we all avoid trying to learn from each other.
Because we're in that perfect society where just your best self is
gotta be perfect.
Put out there. Yeah.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, I really appreciate that. I appreciate your words today. And I know our listeners will. I know we're going to have some people listening to this who probably will be in the market for some real estate at some point. Would you mind just giving a shout out about your Instagram so they can get in touch with you if they want to?
Real estate life. I mean, any friends too. I love just being out and about. So, I will answer every message or anything, but I'm Downtown Dave. By
the way, the coolest IG
Instagram,
handle.
So it was not, I don't love it, but it was pawned to me. Just a bunch of my friends are like, oh, you have to be Downtown Dave on Instagram.
Dude.
And I was like, and then I was like, okay, fuck it, I guess I'll go with it, and it sticks. Like,
dude, I love it.
I have people like just call me Downtown Dave, but I'm like, okay, at least you remember my name. So I love it. So I'm Downtown Dave on Instagram. I also manage a really cool page called Denver in Luxury as well. It's basically a real estate porn page, but with Denver focused. Me and Joey, my guy that collabs on it, does an amazing job, and it's really, if you're just interested in houses and nice shit, it's an awesome page to follow. So give that a follow too, and then just David Dipetro on Facebook.
If you're someone who likes to use your Instagram feed as kind of a vision board of sorts, you like to see the shit you want in your life, follow Denver in Luxury for sure.
Yeah,
I send likes up that page more than any other page because it's always just the most amazing.
I find myself on just my feed and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, oh, who's that guy? And I'm like, that's me.
Oh, that's me. Who's this handsome devil?
Because it's all a couple days in advance, but then it like surprises me too. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Right? No, dude, you do a great job with both the pages. Honestly, if you guys are in Colorado in the Denver area, I really couldn't think of a better person than to refer you to Dave. For any real estate needs, and absolutely follow that other page as well. Cause I mean, if you like that home porn, like that stuff's
it's cool. Yeah. It's catchy.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. Tune in next week, guys, for actually, in my opinion, one of the more, real conversations we'll have coming up. But Dave, thank you again for coming on. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well. Failing Forward Podcast will have clips of Dave's episode, as well as some teasers of what's coming up next. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.